It's that time of the week when I line up the computer and I press this particular button and we get this sound.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Matthew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on TCFM 88.9.
Good morning, Matthew.
Oh,
yes, I was going to say.
Wake me up.
Yes, I'm going to
very
say.
early this morning.
Yes, indeed. You're up at 4 o'clock this morning for the announcement of the new iPhones. I haven't read what you've said here. Basically, I haven't had time this morning because you only whizzed it to me at about 7.
Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to absorb it all, put it into some sort of format, and then
get it out to me. Yep.
Yeah.
So apparently there are 2 models.
Four models.
Four models.
Two kind of subsets. There's an iPhone 12 and a 12 mini, so they're kind of their standard range, if you like.
Yep.
So they're replacing the iPhone 11 is the current model. And then they've got 2 Pro models, and they've got an iPhone Pro and a Pro Max, the same as now. But they've gone for an increase in size on both of those, where they've gone for a Pro, which is now 6.1 inch, compared to the current Pro, which is 5.8. And the Pro Max is 6.7 inches, which is the current one 6.5. I find the current one large. It's great when you're using it, but it's a bit hard to throw in your pocket. 6.7 inches, even larger again. So they've certainly gone for size. So 4 different ones to choose from. 5 colours in the standard range, 4 colours in the Pro range. So there's choices, and there's choices.
All right. So what's different between the 11 and the 12 in basically, without going into too much? I mean, you've got a page of stuff here.
That's right. Yeah. Sorry, I do apologise. There's a lot in there, and of course, Apple hype it up.
Yep.
One of the most interesting things, of course, is that they've now gone 5G. And watching the announcement this morning, you'd think that Apple invented 5G the way they talked about it. Now that they've got a 5G phone, suddenly the world switched on to 5G. 2 weeks ago, if you asked an Apple representative about 5G, it wasn't that important, but now they've finally got some 5G phones. It's going to change the world.
Yeah.
So, and look, I think they were well overdue. Samsung, for example, had 5G phones out in March last year. So they're a bit behind the 8 ball from that perspective. Mind you, there weren't a lot of carriers last year that had 5G, so that's an important thing. Cameras, there's huge competition amongst cameras, and so they've improved the cameras, and a lot of the improvement in the cameras comes down to the improvement in, believe it or not, the processor. So they've got a faster processor, and with a faster processor, the camera can do more. So the night photography, and they did some examples of night photography, the night photography now is fantastic because it can actually use the power, if you like, of the processor to take multiple shots, stitch them together, and give you enhanced lighting even though there wasn't a lot of lighting available. So there's probably, if you're looking for a reason to upgrade, 5G is certainly one. The cameras on the phones, whether it be the 12 standard range or the 12 Pro range, certainly better, but the Pro range also comes with now a 4 times optical zoom range on the Pro, and on the Pro Max, a 5 times optical zoom range,
Wow.
as well as the standard wide and ultra wide. So 3 cameras on the Pro, 2 cameras on the standard range.
Prices.
They'll be pretty similar, actually. I only saw on the announcement the American pricing. Obviously, it's an American announcement. The pricing that we'll see here in Australia, I think will be, and we're waiting for the final announcements, conversion rates, all the rest of it, but probably the 12 will be similar to the 11, the current 11 pricing. The Pro will be similar again to the current Pro pricing and the Pro Max. So I think they'll be around about that, not much difference there, but there's a little caveat on that. What they've done to save the environment, and I put that in inverted commas, to save the environment, they've taken out the charging brick from the packaging and they've taken out the headphones. They quoted the fact that there's 2 billion charging bricks, Apple charging bricks, already around the world somewhere. And so they've said they're taking that out to save the environment, and that makes sense, except they've then included not a USB-A to lightning cable in the packaging, they've included a USB-C to lightning port. So all those people out there with their charging bricks, so great, we'll just use our existing charging brick. Oh, hold on.
Hold on. Would it fit?
I haven't got the USB-C charging brick. No. So there'll be sales, I'm sure, of adapters, sales of other charging bricks themselves. The headphones make sense. A lot of people buy separate headphones or they've got existing headphones. So there's a bit of logic in that one. Also makes the packaging smaller so they can fit more in a container. So you would hope with those things taken out that they could keep a bit of a lid on the pricing. So they're trying to save the environment, but I think there's also some cost savings there as well.
Yeah. All right. Very quickly, this morning at 9:27, I can't get over this one. Singapore Airlines and airline food. Come on.
Do you miss airline food that much, Richard?
No, I don't.
So this is incredible.
I mean, in business, it's a bit better, but I tell you what, no.
Well, I can't imagine that I would pay to just have airline food by itself. But obviously airlines at the moment are struggling with the lack of flights around the world, especially someone like Singapore Airlines, a lot of international flights. And so they've actually got 2 planes, 2 A380s, on Changi Airport on the end of October, the 24th, 25th of October, where they're putting them as restaurants. So you can actually get into a plane, go and eat. I hope it's a little bit better than airline food, but effectively airline food there. They sold out within 30 minutes of the bookings
But
going
hang
online.
on, you've got the little tray in front of you. If you're an economy, you've got your knees up round your chin.
Yeah,
and people are going to be paid to eat off a plastic fork and knife.
$49, Richard. $49 for the economy.
What?
Now, if you've never flown first class,
Yeah.
then this might be a way to experience first class. For less than $500, you can actually go and sit in first class and eat a meal in first class. I assume the meal's a little bit better as well as that price tag there, but they'll have the plane, not full, because obviously social distancing, but they'll have the plane as full as they possibly can, serving meals to people. So you walk onto the plane, you have your dinner, and you walk off again.
Having been upgraded, and this is in the 1980s, to first class with another airline, yes, you do have plenty of room, and yes, you can spread things out. And business, yes, you can spread out a bit more, but dear oh me, it's still airline food.
It's still airline food.
Heated
That's
up in the
exactly right.
microwave. They can't get around that one, baby. You just can't get around it anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, good luck to them for having a go at something different, and they've sold it out. They'll probably do it again, I can imagine.
Yes, I know. Now, if you're eating, stop, because they'll talk about robotic colonoscopies.
Now, the theory
Where
is,
did you come up with this story? A robotic colonoscopy?
Well, it's
Give me
actually
a break.
Some researchers at the University of Leeds are
Yeah.
actually working on this. And the theory is that if you've got a robot doing parts of an operation or an entire operation, they've got greater accuracy and they can be much better, if you like, at doing things. Plus, you don't need as skilled a surgeon to be there as someone trained at the same level, so you can actually do more surgeries with robotics. But just it still scares me a little bit to have a robotic arm sticking it in places that I don't want anyone sticking things.
People are eating. Be careful.
They are talking about how much more accurate it is.
Yes.
And the really exciting thing about this for people that need to undergo a colonoscopy is that you don't need to go under general anaesthetic. And for a lot of people, that's the thing that knocks them around as much as anything else, because they come out of general, obviously at least a day or two, sometimes a week or more, you can be really impacted by being under general anaesthetic. But they're saying that this is so accurate and does such a good job, you don't actually ever need to go under general anaesthetic. Now at this stage, they've only trialled it on plastic dummies and on some pigs. Happy days for those pigs. They haven't trialled it yet. They're about to start trialling on humans. Unfortunately, I can't be in England for the trial, so I'll have to let them do it on someone else.
No, we can't leave the country. Aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky? Speaking of that, though, the ACCC wants Google to pay for news content and Facebook, etc., etc. We have a campaign being run by Ray Martin for local regional news at the moment, which is a good campaign. It's been supported by Barnaby Joyce. It's been supported by Albo. And basically, in this country, we are trying to get Google and Facebook to pay.
Yeah.
And guess what? We've been gazumped, haven't we? I think France have taken over.
Well, not really. Certainly Australia has been at the leading edge of this, and we have discussed it briefly before around the idea of paying for news for lots of the social media outlets. But some other countries have been working on it as well. And France actually got to the point where they had a ruling go through the courts, and they were at the point where essentially Google was negotiating with some of the news outlets in France as to how much they would pay. And that seemed to be going well. And then Google said, actually, no, we don't want to pay. We're going to challenge this decision. So they challenged that decision. It went through the equivalent of the Supreme Court in France. And the Supreme Court there has now said, no, I'm sorry, we reject your application to go down this path. You're going to have to pay for news. And if you can't work it out, we'll set some prices there for you. So basically, that's the first one in the world. So we were near the front, but France is now the first one. I think you'll see the dominoes start to fall now. Once one country's got it through, I don't think Australia will be that far behind. Lots of countries have been waiting to see what happens. And Google have made all sorts of, I think, empty threats. In France, they've said, we'll stop having any news on our sites, or we'll pull out and not have our services in your country whatsoever. But they generate so much money, they're not going to pull out. In Australia alone, they generate $4.8 billion a year from little old Australia. $4.3 billion of that is in advertising revenue. They're not going to pull out of countries.
Of course they're not.
They're going to pay something. Sure, the news outlets might want them to pay more than they end up deciding, but they will pay something. And this is good, I think, for getting good, accurate news and getting local content in that news.
Well, let's face it, Australia is a small player in all this. France is a hell of a lot bigger, a hell of a bigger economy than Australia. And I can imagine Google being very worried about that, and Facebook and TikTok and everybody else.
Yeah, and which is why they've challenged that
Yes.
in the equivalent of the Supreme Court. If they could get away with it, they would have tried to get away with it.
All right. Good talking with you, mate.
No
and
problems.
we'll see you next week for more tech talk. And no doubt you'll be presenting with your Apple iPhone next week to show everybody.
Not quite. 23rd of October, there'll be 2 of the models available, and the 13th of November, another 2 models. So they're actually doing a dual date release.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do all that. Go to bed.
Yeah, thanks.
Matt Dickinson and Tech Talk returns next Wednesday morning at around about 9:20 here on DCFM 88.9.